minutes, all right? Unless you want to get started, Jeff. Let me look outside and see if there are any more. Well, let's go ahead and get started. I think most of the people are here, and there are some that I'm sure will be joining us in a few minutes. We have, I know it's been a little awkward with the tour, and then coming back and just before the dinner have another presentation, but there's a very important presentation that Dr. Jeff Davis and his team have that has to do with NASA's Human Health and Performance Center. So, Jeff?
Well, thank you. It's nice to have a few minutes here to explain the Human Health and Performance Center concept that we're putting together. So I was reminded several times of the line that I'm the only thing between you and dinner. So this either needs to be good or quick. So it's going to be quick. And the building you just saw in terms of a center, that's not what I'm describing here. This is so. What we're working on is actually a virtual center. We're calling it the Human Health and Performance Center, and the objective is to really integrate all the disciplines of the human system, to be able to pull all the disciplines together in one place in a collaborative forum. So I think actually this might address some of the issues that came up today. The idea would be that participants in this center, and there could be a variety of different types of membership in the center, would be able to come together around topics of common interest and work on actually collaborative projects. And I'll describe that more in just a bit. So as I mentioned, this is really, there's two main products that we see that can come out of this Human Health and Performance Center. One is to collect, disseminate, transfer knowledge. So that's where the virtual part comes in. It will be, a lot of it will be web-based. We're working on a state-of-the-art website right now, and I can give you that address if you'd like it at the end, and that's up and running. It's an external website at present, and we will actually grow that and expand it to be able to include all of the information we plan to put there. So we plan to put as much information on these websites as possible, both publications to presentations. Right now, everything that we clear, to go out through the knowledge system would be put on there if we think it's relevant. And you would have access to that information. So first off, we would like it to be a clearinghouse of information. The second main product would be workshops around particular themes or topics of interest to the participants or the members. And so we also plan then to organize around themes. And so we may have a health topic theme, a performance theme, something to do with environmental monitoring. We also, it doesn't fit exactly into those first three, but there's a lot of interest in commercial space. So one of the first workshops we're talking about having is a workshop around about the human system for, say, commercial space operators. It might occur towards the end of this year, and that might actually be in partnership with the Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA. And we would also look at, some of these topics came up this morning also, we would try to look at maximizing the use of various platforms, whether it's ground-based research, the International Space Station as a national laboratory, other spacecraft platforms. So it's intended to be very broad and inclusive in terms of collecting and disseminating information, but then it's also intended to be focused for participants to suggest workshops and themes and topics of interest. So one thing that occurred to me this morning from the discussions had to do about a focused increment, and that might be a way to draw in information and participation, perhaps, around a focused increment on the International Space Station. So that's a possibility for a future topic as well. As I mentioned, it's a virtual center. We don't want to put a lot of time and effort into actually standing up a physical center, because this is really about knowledge transfer and dissemination. It would be based at Johnson Space Center in that the initial director would be myself at the Johnson Space Center, and we're partnering with other NASA centers, however, to enhance that collaboration. And so the Ames Research Center will provide the deputy, and so far Dr. Carol Carroll at Ames has agreed to be the deputy. And then we'll begin to enroll other NASA centers, other government organizations. We've had collaborative relationships with the NIH, with the NSF, with NIST, with the FAA. We would also invite in the international partners and our academic partners. And so we want to grow this fairly rapidly, but in a focused way. So the first area of emphasis for us will be to pull together the related NASA centers, and that would include Johnson, Ames, Glenn, Kennedy, Langley, and headquarters. But we'll fairly rapidly move on to offering this out to other participants. So there's no plan for a membership fee. I mean, there's no plans to have this be a membership of that sort, but there would be some commitment of interest or expression of interest in either the topics, participating in workshops in the future, and we would, again, focus them along particular themes. So I'd be interested in hearing from you over the next few months what might be of particular interest. In getting this set up, we will have some infrastructure to apply to the center to get this to run. I was going to say that Dennis Grounds was going to fully fund this center, but Dennis is still here. So Mr. Gerstenmaier is not, so I'll suggest that Mr. Gerstenmaier will fully fund this center. Just don't tell him I said that tomorrow morning when he comes back. But I said we would be having some infrastructure for the center to run the workshops and to put together the website to collect the information and put it back out. We have actually used this concept once already, although it's not, the charter is still being signed off at NASA headquarters. But I'll give you a practical example of a collaborative project. And we had an ISS utilization call around biomedical equipment. And there were proposals that came in from all the centers. And so there were a proposal that came in from Johnson, one that came in from Ames, and one that came in from Glenn. And we got together and in a 4-hour period agreed on a common set of requirements. We focused the efforts around lab-on-a-chip instrumentation, and that joint project is now being developed and will be submitted to headquarters. So We think one of the leveraging points of this center is you can design a project around a common set of requirements. That was another aspect that was talked about today, and I think those are more powerful when you do go back to for budget processes to seek funding to put together those projects. So I do envision collaborative projects being a major product of this center. One other point I wanted to make is that even though NASA is hosting this center, a collaborative project would not be required to run up and through NASA. So if participants come to a particular meeting and because of the collaborative forum find each other and decide they would like to work on a collaborative project together, I would consider that a very good outcome. So it's not a requirement that this necessarily involves NASA participation in the project, but it is set up to put together partners that would have a common interest in a project. And so that's actually all I wanted to say. You'll see more from us over the coming weeks and months. I can give you the current external website address just so you can see what we're intending and what material is on there. And that is just SLSD for Space Life Sciences Directorate.jsc.nasa.gov. And I'd be interested in your feedback on the website. We're trying to make it very user-friendly, searchable, and make it state-of-the-art in terms of those kinds of techniques. One of the other aspects of future work that we're working on is using open innovation models, which that's another whole discussion. But if you go on the website, you can see some of the work we're doing in that area where we're using external groups to help us run challenges for our particular problems in spaceflight. And I'll give you one quick example that this is another topic we can disseminate through this website and then perhaps even get interest from some of you in pursuing these kinds of challenges. We put out a challenge about space weather or radiation monitoring for solar flares and events. The goal there is ultimately to have a 24-hour all clear if you were out doing an EVA on a planetary surface to be able to go out on an EVA or spacewalk. Long story short, we put this challenge out and we got a result back of an algorithm produced by a group using ground-based data that has an 8-hour predictive capability with 75% accuracy and a 3 sigma confidence interval, and we expected no result whatsoever. So it's really interesting to go out and try these models because, as was talked about this morning, these are folks that are not, who don't normally work with us. This is this idea of involving other disciplines to work with human health and performance disciplines. So really interesting result, but that's some of the other products we can put out through this center and for learnings and greater interest in the future. So that's all I wanted to say. I know it's a hard to put your arms around a virtual concept in about 10 minutes, but we think this center will have a great deal of practical value because of some of the topics talked about this morning. So it's about collection of knowledge and dissemination. It will be about collaboration and collaborative projects and focused around certain workshops of interest. So I'll stop there and see if there are any questions. Chuck.
I think this is a very exciting initiative that you're have just described. My question is, there is an NIH sponsored activity that's called Pubmed Central. So anyone who receives NIH funding for a project, regardless of where they publish, even if it's in a journal, it's a proprietary journal, within 6 months the manuscript has to be put up on Pubmed Central, and there are policies for it and so on. So any investigator, regardless of when their research was published, can go ahead and get that freely available on the where anybody who does a search on Pubmed Central can see it. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, if it's NASA funded, we're told that they don't have to do that because it's not it's only NIH funded projects because I guess it must cost. Someone told me that the contractor, when you send in a publication, that the processing of that publication to get it put up on PubMed Central is, I don't know, $500 or $600, and therefore, if it's not been supported by the NIH, they won't do it. It might be, you know, if one thinks about the access of investigators to the published literature in this area, it would really be great if you could make a collaboration with NIH somehow so that NASA investigations would also be available on that federally, because they have spent millions of dollars creating this thing that's a mirror of PubMed, except you can actually see every article.
Yeah, that's a great idea. One of the things I didn't mention is that we don't want to recreate the business and duplicate things that are already out there. So as many links as we can establish, you know, folks who are interested in spaceflight know to come to this particular website, but they can link to other databases. That's what we intend as well. So that's a great idea, Chuck. Thanks. Yep.
Kaz was asking the website for
slsd.jsc.nasa.gov.
looking at that site.
Shouldn't be. Should just come up. I'll double check that for you if that's not working for some reason. But if you're not going to that particular link, if you just type in SLSD, in Google, it comes up as the #2 website, so it's right up at the top. So give that a try as well. You can hit it from there. Okay, as I said, I appreciate just getting to introduce this topic, and there'll be a lot more from us about this, but we think it's an exciting opportunity to be a vehicle to enhance collaboration and collaborative projects as we go forward. And we hope to be up and running by this September and maybe full operations in January, and then you'd hear a lot more from us about what the opportunities would be to utilize this center or come to a workshop. So if you have ideas about workshops, I'd be happy to take them in, and maybe one of them would be around a focused increment or something in the future. So thanks very much.
That concludes all the events for today except for the dinner and Dr. Yushkov's keynote address, which will be at the end of the dinner. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Here's your